Let's get started demo first. So this is a Blazor web application which will interact with our API, web API, and user able to register their new user, right? So if you see here is the register button, the Blazor WebAssembly side, if you click the register, it have this information like their email. So let me add one email, for example, test user @gmail.com, and their password, whatever the password. So just test @123 and test @123. And once you registered, so see, it is registered successfully. Also you are getting that response like, okay, you have successfully registered, and now you can try to log in. But login part we will cover in next session. But yeah, in this session only we'll cover the registration part. So once you registered, so you are able to see that register user in our database. So that we actually will implement in this session. So before the implementation of that Blazor WebAssembly registered component, so I'm especially recommend if you first time visit my channel, so go to my YouTube channel, .NET Real World Example, and here actually I cover that identity, secure our identity with the web API, right? And also then role authentication, like how to assign the role and all. So there's, you have to just before proceeding, you have to check out these two sessions so that you can understand, and you can know, you have to understand first like, okay, how we can our API will build, right? So that our Blazor web application, web application can connect with the API, and we can implement that authentication and authorization and all, right? So I will take same example whatever we have done last session, right? So I will take same example, so I'll show you. So see, this is that same example. If I run, so once you run, now see, you are able to see the API is running. It have all that endpoint register, login, refresh, confirmation, forget password and all. So everything. Also we have, the role APIs as well, like get roles, get user roles, and add user roles, right? So those are we have. So as of now, what we'll do, I'll just create a new Blazor web application which will connect, this endpoint, the register endpoint, and it will register a new user, right? So that actually we have to implement. So let's back to go our application. First up, just stop this application, right? And then what I need to do, simply I have to create a new project, that is a call a Blazor WebAssembly. So go to that new project, choose here Blazor WebAssembly standalone app, which you can just find over here as well. Once you search the Blazor, you will get those templates, so you can choose as well there. Now see, you are getting over here, and I'm choosing this Blazor WebAssembly standalone app. So next, and just make it a name. So for example, Blazor secure, right? Blazor app secure. And next, and now you have to just choose an authentication level is none, and rest of the things whatever we have, we can check it as a same, right? It is default things. And let me create. Now once it's created, now see, this is a simple Blazor web application, right? If you go to that project file, you're able to see just it is creating a .NET 8 along with Blazor WebAssembly, right? So what I need to do first actually I have to required, few packages and few services also required. So first actually I have to create a one service, and go to that add folder, create a new folder in this WebAssembly project, and create as a services folder. And inside this services, what I will do, I have to create, one interface where actually I can implement our login, logout, everything. So in this here, I'll just create a register method. So go to that class, go to that interface, create a that name, IAccountManagement, add, and now our interface is ready. Now what I need to do over here, simply I have to create a signature or declaration method over here. For example, register. So in this register, user will send that email ID and their password. So using this email ID and password, I will call our API, and I will just register our user, right? So this is a simple no return type form result. So that also we have to just create it. So go back to our application solution folder in this Blazor applications project, create another folder that is called something view model, right? Or just call it a model. And here let me create a view model for that. Let me create a this, and this is form result add. And inside that, what I need to do, simply whatever response we have to set after getting that response, so that actually I can store over here. So as a demonstration perspective, I can use it that, but yeah, for the recommendations and requirement, we can use multiple things over here. So go back to again in our account over here and bring back that namespace so that we can remove the error. Now see, now our declaration things has been done. So now what I need to do for next I have to just create one custom authentication state provider. So that is actually very important for this. If you trying to secure your web application, Blazor application, or others like web application, so for this a server side or or client side, right? So it is very important that authentication state provider is very important over here. How we can build that? So let me create over here as a custom authentication provider. So let me create that. For example, I just need to create a one class which I can call here custom, right? Custom authentication state provider. Let me create that over here. And here actually I have to inherit that authentication custom state provider. So here, right? So this is thing actually we require. So once we have to try to inherit of this authentication state provider class, so what I need to do, I have to bring that namespace, or I have to import one package. So that is called this guy, right? ASP.NET Core authentication authorization component, right? So let me bring back that, uh, install that package, so I can install directly over here, right? And after that, what I can do, I can simply comma, right, and inherit. Also I have to implement our, which is we have to created this guy, right? So account management thing. So go back over here and just simply inherit over here, and whatever signature, let me just implement interface. So now see, register method over here, which we have to try to concrete implementation should be over here, right? So what I need to do, see, still one issue. Why one issue over here? Because see, once you inherit this, there is a one method actually, that overload method, which we have to use to notify actually what we are trying to do. Like if you're trying to log in and log out or registered, so we have to notify, right? So that they can, our application can understand, okay, now what is that state actually currently, now you are logged in or log out or whatever that claim principle and all. So don't worry about that. As of now, I think it is little difficult to understand. Once I implement, definitely you will get that more idea. So what I will do, simply again implement of this things also. So now see, this is just overload method actually created, which is that get authentication state async method, right? So this will, as of now, will not much implement, but we just create a default unauthorized things, right? So what, how we can do that? So first let me implement that guy. So simply what I need to do, first remove that guy, right? And let me create one private property inside the top. And once you inside the set, the by default should be always this custom authentication will be false. Based on this actually authentication, we can set as true. So that's why I just creating as on the top, is we set it false. And again, once I call this get authentication service, I just, first of all, I just set is false, and I have just create one unauthentication user. So how we can do that? In this case, I have to just create one default claim principal. So that also I just set it as a private value over here. So see, I just created a private read-only claim principal which is unauthenticate, and by default just set as a blank claim identity over there, right? So that I need to do set inside over here, like call as a default authentications, right? So let me add over here. So see, now I set as a user which is an unauthenticated, because by default this is a blank claim, right? So that's why it is a unauthenticated, right? Later on we'll authenticate as well, which is calling another API. But yeah, uh, just for digestion I just create first step by step, so that you can understand clearly. And what I need to do, simply return in this method, right, in this overload method, like that. Simply authenticated state. What is that authenticated state? As of now unauthenticate, right? So always our application will be first time unauthenticate, right? So what I need to do, it is asking to, actually this is overload method, and it is no asynchronize that, so that I can set it as an async, right? So now this is implementation is done for get authentication. This will be implementation in our login. Once I, upcoming session will create a login mechanism, so that time actually I have to implement this way. But actually in by default, once you try to secure your web application like Blazor web application, so you have to require this authentication state provider, and this actually you have to set it, either it will complaining error and all, right? So that's why actually I just create it as a default one. Now keep it, close that one. Now here actually that implementation we have to do that, right? Registration user. So here we have to call our API, and that API will be giving the result, okay, it is success registered or failed registered, right? So what I need to do, simply first let me set remove that guy, right, and set as a default details. So default detail is this, right? And then what I need to do, simply I just create a try catch block over here, so that whatever exception and all I can just get it if any, while calling our API, if I getting any issue, so we can capture over here. And here I have to call HTTP client. So before calling that HTTP client, right, so what I need to do, I have to just inject that, right? Because that HTTP client, how we can call, right? So that we have to inject it over here. So what I need to do, simply just create a constructor of that custom class, create a constructor, and inside this constructor what I will do, I have to uh, call actually IHTTP client factory, right? Let me call this IHTTP or inject that HTTP client factory. And in this IHTTP client factory, or actually we can use that normally HTTP client factory, but yeah, I'll show you the both way, right? So that's why I just using this way. And also we record one package, so that package could be HTTP client, right? So let me bring back that package first. So go to that your solution and go to that application, right, and go to the manage package, and here just look for that package, because which is dependent on that Microsoft extension.http. So choose this guy, choose whatever your framework, right? So I'm using 8, so that's why I'm using this one. And once it's done, go back to over here, and here what you need to do, simply just uh, call http client factory and create an instance, right? And here after that create instance, what I need to do, I have to just call that a factory method, right? So before the factory method call, what I need to do, I have to assign something in the HTTP client, because that factory method, let me show you. If I call this factory method dot create client, and if I pass something auth, right, so it is just simply, see, it's simply written HTTP client. So that I have to just set over here, so that I can assign to that, right? So let me add this guy, so using that HTTP client, right? So simply I can assign to that over here, correct? So like this way actually you can just use your you can just set your HTTP client, right? So let me make it a now capital over here. So now it is done, like construction injection is done for the HTTP client. Now we are good to go to use that HTTP client, right? So what I need to do now, simply call that here, right? Inside the try block, go to the register method. Inside the try block, I have to call that HTTP method over here. So let me call that guy, await, and call that HTTP client and dot post async, because I am calling that post async method. It post as a JSON async, right? And here what I need to do, simply whatever our method name, right? So my method name would be as a registered. If you see our API from the starting, so my API name is a register, like domain name slash register. So domain name, don't worry about that I'll explain, like where I have to mention our domain name, like full URL. And then what I need to do, simply inside this, actually we have to pass some parameter. See, this is a request URI and then passing that whatever object, right? So how we can pass it, simply I can create a new anonymous object over here. Let me bring back this here like that, right? And here let me close that, not actually email, that email, or yeah, this is a email and that's password, right? So two value we have to assign to that, like this, and we are good to get it that whatever response over here. So now see, it is returning an HTTP response. So let me store as a variable, for example, result, and that's it. Now we are getting that HTTP response over here. Now first what I have to check, if it is success or not, right? So how we can success or not check, simply I have to set one if condition over here to check, like okay, see, result, HTTP, actually HTTP response have many properties, so we can check is success is there. So if it is success, then what I need to do, simply I set it succeed is true with this response, right? And return back over here. If it is fail, what I need to do, whatever things over here, right? We are getting the data, right? We have the error object as well there, so that we can you know read from that response over here. So let me read from there, and this is a simple result dot contain and read async. So whatever response we can try to get, and then whatever problems over there, right? So that I can just edit like this, problem details using the JSON document and parse that. We are just trying to parse and using a blank erase object, error object, and inside this blank error object we can just assign that all that object. So right, first let me add one more error list, right? So this is just whatever problems root elements get the whatever actually we are trying to find in these roots, actually if it is error, so we can just get it over the error list, and then we can try to get the error and we can store the value inside that, right? So this is just for that storing that error object uh, mechanism, so you can just use that approach. So simply see, error list we can get it over here, iterating to for each loop, and just compare, like if it is that value kind or a string that, so we can add this error object, right, which is empty, and rest of things also just we can just assign. If it is not a value kind, right, it is a error of value kind of just a string, so then we can pass it. If it is as a whole object, right, so then we can just store and together. So like that actually we can do that. It is simple. And what I need to do finally in the last, we can simply return object if it is getting any error. So this will just returning, okay, success is false, and whatever that errors we can just assign to over here. That's it, right? So this is actually mechanism, so we can registered. So finally we have to finish my registered implementation in this custom provider. Now two things actually pending. Now we have to configure in our program.cs file this this custom provider and all, and also they have to resolve the dependency of this is one thing. And second thing, we have to create a component, right? So let me first let create a component of register component. So go back to over here in the solution, let me create a one another folder, call it to component, right? Component. And inside this component I will just create another folder that is called, it is related to account, right? Account or auth. So we can create based on this, right? So I just create account, and inside this account what I will do, I'll just create a component. So razor component, we have to choose the razor component, and here I'll just call that registered component. I have to create it, right? So let me call that registered component here, registered, and always make it the component for the Pascal case, not camel case. Okay, so that is important. So let me add. Once you add, now you are getting that register component, right? And first of all, in the top, I'll just set as a route, at the rate page route. You are not familiar with Blazor, so I'm especially recommend go to my channel. Many session actually I have just create for what is the route and how is working the Blazor application, Blazor WebAssembly or Blazor server side. So everything actually is explained and details in our other use session. So go to there, and here what I need to do, simply I can call registered, right? So this is a register component, and here first of all what I need to do in this component, I have to design actually few things, right? So that design could be like whatever I show in the demo, like username and password, or that confirm password. So three field actually we have to wrap up. So that that actually we have to create it first. So let me create a HTML first, right? So I have a code, so I'm not going to writing that code. So let me get it that, because this is a design part, so that will wasting of time to actually design that. So I don't, I will not do that over here. So what I am trying to do over here, see, this is a authorized view, like see. So what I'm trying to wrap inside this authorized view, we have the section, we actually the another component like the authorized and non-authorized. So whatever our user form, like a register form, that should be inside that not authorized, because everybody can create their user. So that is actually mechanism over here. But yeah, in later in our scenario, suppose only admin user can create a user, so that also then we can use that on authorized view. Inside that authorized view we can just handle that, right? So don't worry about that. That also I'll just I'll explain once I complete this. So authorization session will complete that also. So as of now, this is actually required one namespace. So this namespace actually required. So instead of bring that namespace inside this particular component, what I will do, just copy this over here and go to the solution, go to that import section, and here just using this namespace and being actually assign over here, so that it is a globally place. We can just uh, import that namespace, so that all the component actually can get access. Okay, so now see, simply authorize view, inside that authorize, right? So if it is authorized, so it will pop up this message like it is login or whatever login user, so already is login, right? If it is not authorized, so that will pop up this message, right? If it is success, so that will pop up this message. Otherwise what it will do, if it is error, so show that errors. And now finally here that HTML for that email input and password, and re-enter the password. And finally this is at a click button, and we have to just, we as of now we don't have that method, but we don't worry about that, we'll create this method as well. So first let me create this method, do register method. And here first let me create the do register method, and before that actually we have to assign, we have to record this property, right? We have to success property, error properties, right? And also email, password, confirm password, and error list. So those are property actually required, which actually we're trying to manipulate over here, right? That's why I just created. And after that what I will do, I just create that method, right? So let me create that method. So this is that method actually. So do registered async as a method, right? Here what I'm trying to do, initially we just set as a errors is false, success also false, and create a blank array list. And just normal validation, we have just check over here, like okay, if it is empty then return back, it is empty then return back, set as a error and return back, like that. Actually it is a simple validations, right? And once is validation done, what I'm trying to do, see, now we have to call our register user, which we have to call, we have to create it over here, right? Custom authentication provider we have implement over here, but main main signature where is in this account management, right? So copy this interface, go back to your Razor component and just inherit over here or inject over here, right? So this is another concept. Actually you can inject any service like that. So at the rate inject and call it to that service and make it like, for example, account service, right? So make it that, and also you have to bring the namespace. Let me bring that namespace where actually uh, it is created, right? So created that. Now go back to your implementation. So now see what I'm trying to do. It is just implementation, right? So call that implementation method and pass it your email ID and password. Once you get result, so it could be, success and fail, right? So what will happen in success case? Success case simply I just set as a success true and set as that email password as a null, right? And if it is success true, what will happen? See, we are as the block. If it is success, so this message will be pop up, okay, you are successfully registered, and you can click that login, right? So as of now we don't have login, but yeah, later on we'll implement that login as well. So like that actually we can register. And finally over here, see, it is success. So then an else part, it is getting the error. So registered component like also have been done. Now final step is pending, that is called resolve the dependencies on all whatever actually we have service. So those service actually we have to resolve the dependencies. So go back to program.cs file. Here we have to resolve the all the dependency, right? And one more issue definitely will occur, so that I'll show you once I'm trying to connect with our Blazor web application with the web API. Definitely one issue will occur, so that I'll show you and then we'll fix it. So don't worry about that. Now let me register these things, right? So what we'll register first actually we have to register our builder dot, let me register over here, builder dot services dot add scope. Inside this add scope actually what I will do, I'll just create a lambda expression again and create that lambda expression. And here sp dot get required service, and whatever our custom whatever our authentication service provider. If you go back to this here, see, this is our authentication service provider, right? So this is our implementation, so that's we have to bring back over here, right? And now see, this is actually the signature, right? This is our signature and this is our implementation inside this class. So that actually we have to register. So this is a way to register over here like that and pass to this. And once you this also we have to close that, right? So now this is done for this registration. Like for example, I account manager, like this way actually we have to register, right? And once it's done, now another things we have to register, that custom provider also we have that implementation with this guy, right? So that also we have to register. So how we can do that? That also very simple. Builder dot services dot, and here let me add a scope, right? And inside it add scope, what is your authentication provider state provider? This is our authentication state provider, and this is a dependent actually that concrete class of that. Go to that here custom provider, right? Go back and initially here, and that's it. So these two things has been done. Now finally one more thing actually pending, right? So these two implementation to service actually we have done to register. Now inside this this custom authentication, right? So if you go to that customer, actually one more thing actually we have implement, right? So see, http client which is dependent on this custom authentication state provider class, right? So that also we have to resolve. Neither definitely once you call this guy, it will actually null and it will say okay, you have to resolve, you have to register the services, right? So how we can do that? On that what I need to do, so here let me create a builder dot service dot add http client, right? So here http client, what I will do, see, there is a many overload method over here, right? So this is a pass the name and all, right? So first of all, what I will pass, I'll just pass a name, which we have to create instance of that HTTP client, right? So you auth, if you go back, I'll show you. See, I'll just create an instance of this name, right? So same name, just call it over here, so that once you call that method, it will actually it understand, okay, this is that resolve your dependency, right? So this is that one. And then what would be the second parameter over here? Let me create a one lambda expression here. And again, what I will do, option dot call that base URL, base address, right? And in this base address, what I need to do, simply I have to call that whatever our URI, right? So it is actually, we have to define our backend URI over here. So what is my backend URI? That I can call from that builder, that I will actually store in our uh, configuration file, so that I can call it over here like that, configuration, right? And here call it to our backend URL. So let me call that backend URL, right? So like this, so that also done. And if it is null, so we can just set is, if it is null, whatever our default URL, so that we can set it over here. So as of now, I just set it whatever, just a demonstration perspective, right? So like that, close that. We are missing something over here. Yeah, one thing actually we are missing over here. Actually, we add one more close bracket over here. That should not be over here, because we are using a operator, right? So that's why we have to remove that. And this is register done, right? And later on, one more thing, actually we have to add that HTTP custom header, but not for this session, but yeah, in upcoming session we'll do that. So this is done. Also, we'll decorate same things for, you know, front end URI as well. Remove that guy. So this is not necessary, but yeah, for the standard things mechanism, like if you maintain the standard mechanism, so that should be like that, right? So let me change it to front end. So this is a HTTP client register for front end, and this is back end, right? So let me add like that. And also same things we can do over here. If it is null, then set is this guy, right? Let me remove that. So that is done. And what I need to do, see, this two variable actually we have to getting from configuration, right? So we have to just create it over there. So go back to here, right? Go back to your program, Blazor application. And actually the web application, Blazor web application, uh, there is actually one app setting, they keep it, but they are not keeping in the root folder. They actually is stored in our www root. Inside, actually they have to manage over here. So what I will do, simply I have to create that new file, is called a JSON file, and look for the JSON file. So this is that JSON file, and here I have to just add that name, and that name would be your application setting.json file, right? Application setting.json file. Add this file, and inside this file, what I will do, simply I have to just create this two property, right? The backend and for front end. So whatever our backend URL, right? So where I can get that backend URL, go to your API, right? And if you go to the properties launch settings, you will get your backend URI, right? So this is your backend URI. So copy this guy and go back to your here. So this is your backend URI. And what is your front end URI? So that also you can check from your front end application. Go to that launch property, launch settings. Here you can get it from here. So this is that, right? So copy this guy and change it to front end. So this should be confirm, like whatever you actually the real URL, you can change it over here, right? So that is done. Now we are good to go, right? There's a some issue, definitely will, once I run, definitely some issue will happen. So that will figuring out and we'll solve it. That's why actually I'm not fixing, because that you have to understand actually what are the issue and why it's the issue, and how we can fix it, right? So what I need to do, simply go to the solution, and configure this project, and I'll actually both project we have to run, right? So that's why I just use the start for this front end and also the back end, right? And apply, okay, and just run this application, and let's see. Now backend API is running perfectly, there's a no issue, right? And also if you see over here, front end application also running, there's a no error. Let me check is there any error or not. So if you go to console, there is a no error and all, right? So what I have to do that, see one thing actually I'm missing in this, in here actually we have to set, in this corner we have to set our the register button, right? So in this case, what I need to do, go back to your application and go to that Blazor project over here, and you have to go to layout, and inside this layout, main layout, actually see here that section actually we can add our style, the login registered button, but as per your feasibility you can just use whatever place you want, right? So many place actually many things actually we have to do over here, but yeah, I will do on the top. So that's why I have to go to that main layout page, right? So let me remove this guy and add these things, right? So see, this is simple anchor tag, right, which is called the uh, register component, right? And here just simply just call, okay, this is a register, and let me save it. Once I save, so if you see, if you rerun, okay, they want actually the stop the application and rebuild. So let me stop. Now see, now I'm getting this register button. So once I click the registered, now see there's a some error. That's why actually I'm assuming actually we are getting some error. Now see, there's some error like, okay, cannot provide a value for the authorization provider on this authorization BO, right? Because we have maintained some authorization and authentication over here, we using that authorization provider, right? So what I can do in this problem, actually we have to fix something. So close that, right? And first of all, what I need to do, uh, I have to actually fix the routing. So if you go to that app.razor file, now see here actually we have to modify something. So what I need to modify, so go you know go to there, and here I have to use that cat cascading state. So let me add that cascading state, and also as well as we have to close that cascading states. Actually this is actually that authentication provider which we have implement, right? So they actually maintain this cascading authentication state. So whatever changes we have done, they will actually cascade, and we as per their, they actually routing that our things, right? And also what I need to do, I have to just simply change the routing view to authorized view, authorized route view. So these two changes we have to done. This is first things, right? So now I think we have to good to run this application again. Let me run. Now your API is running perfectly. Now see again error, right? So what is that error? Let me figuring out over here. So if you go to that console, so see over here it is clearly saying there is no registered service type of that authentication provide policy provider, right? So if it is getting this error, so let me zoom in for you. See, this is one error actually we're trying to get. So what is that error? Actually we're trying to authentication and authorization, right? So in this case actually we have to register that authorization policy provider. So where is that authorization provider? So go back to your application, right? And if you go to that program.cs file, actually here we have missed one thing. So inside this builder, like builder dot services dot, actually we have to ring that guy, right? And once I done, now I think this should be fine for that complaining, right? So let me run one more time. Now see, now this time is running perfectly, there is a no error. You go to here, there's a no error, click here, and now registered. So once you click the register, now you are able to see that page, right? Whatever registration page. But here actually the style is not good, right? So that also I will fix, but yeah, first let me check like it is registered or not. So before that, first I will check, open that SQL server so that we can check, okay, what are the user as of now, and if you add the new user, so that is properly inserted or not, right? So let me open that SQL server, and let me check first what is our DB, right? So if you go back to our web API, go to that application.setting file. So this is identity DB, right? So go to here and SQL server, small identity DB, create a new instance, and open that tables. And this is the table where we actually store the user, sp.net user. Let me filter that, select star from this, and check. Okay, now it have only just one user, right? KKP user. So minimize that and go back to your application. This is application. Let me add something, for example, new user @gmail.com, and password would be test @123 test 123, and click the registered. Once you register, now see, no, don't match, right? So let me again pass the correct password. So this is the correct password. Now click that. Now see, one more error, right? So let me show you what is that error. If you go back here, now this is expected actually, that I was expecting. So that's why I'm not fixing this. So let me show you. See, this is cross origin issue. That is 100% I'm assuming that will occurring. Why? Because see, our front end have a different origin, and a back end has a different origin, right? So that's why actually it's blocking, our API is blocking, so it is not a right request. Okay, so how we can fix that? So we will create an different video like for that, but yeah, as of now let me quickly fix that. Go to your API, right? First you have to go to API because this is fixed for an in your API side. So go to that program.cs file, and inside that builder, after some configuration and all, before closing that, right? So here I have to add one policy, right? So what is that policy? So let me add that service. What is that? Service and policy, services dot add course, right? So this is that one, and inside that what I need to do, I have to just use just option and use the lambda expression, and option dot, we have to that policy, like see the get policy, add policy, and default policy, right? So we'll add that, if add policy, and inside that we can add as a name, what is that policy name? So my policy name would be like, okay, WASM or WebAssembly, right? And inside that we have to see that other upload method, actually what kind of policy you want to do over here, right? So what I want to do over here, simply I want to create that policy, like for example policy, right? And inside this policy I just create a lambda expression again and call it to here, like policy dot with origin. So what are the origin actually allow in this API, so that actually we can define over here. So with, okay, so policy dot with origin, right? So here is the with origin, actually what origin actually you have to allow over here, so that you can just specify over here. So I can specify front end and back end both, right? So that I can add over here. So let me get it from our configuration file, because this is not right way. So let me bring back first, like for this, bring back that, and here what I will do, simply builder dot configuration dot, and here just specify our that backend URL, right? first of that backend URL and then our front end URL as well, right? So let me this, if it is nullable, then we can assign the default one, and again also we can add another origin, right? So let me add same things over here, builder dot configuration dot, and here we can pass it to front end so that there is no mismatch, right? Let me add this guy also. Let me bring back the new line, and here what I need to do, simply pass that things, right? So like that. And here what I need to do after that, like see, this is done, right? So once is done, what I need to do, I have to add some specific method also to fix that. So first I have to add that allow any method, right? So allow any method over here, and then there's a also we have to set on allow any header, right? Allow any header, this is actually configuration, right? So that we are trying to set so that there's a no issue for that. So allow any header, and one last things we have to add over here, allow any credentials, right? So allow credentials, right? So this is done. So now this configuration actually required for this uh, fix this cross origin issue, right? And one more thing, once you create a policy, that also you actually and decide in our pipeline, right? So how we can do that? Simple, go back to here using inside this app builder, right? After create the builder, what you need to do, simply app dot, and you just pass it to whatever the policy name. So I just create a policy name is WASM, so that should be same, right? This is should be same whatever we just created, WASM and this WASM. So this little configuration you have to done in API side, then you are good to go to call your front end and back end, right? So let me stop that and start again. Now backend is running perfectly, front end also is running. Click the registered, and now try to add a new user at the rate gmail.com, and then user is test, and now hit that registered. So again some issue. What is that issue? Okay, now see, we have configured, but still we have not set this front end and back end URL, right? In from back end, right? So what I need to do, go back to again. So that actually I miss. So where actually that I'll show you. See, go to that backend API program.cs file. See, I just added over here, right? Backend URL and front end URL, but that also I have not added in our app.settings. So that actually we have to add. So same things, let me copy that guy from that front end, right, which already we added. So I don't want to write again. So same things, just you have to copy, go back to here, and just set it over here. That's it, right? So once I set it, now should be fine. Let me run one more time, and it's also running this. And now let me add the new user at the rate gmail.com, test 123, re-enter the password 123, and now register. So once you register, see, I am registered, and also change your password. Let me skip that and skip that. Now see, you are successfully registered and you are login, right? So let me confirm this, and also if you see over here, there is a no error, as well as if we can see, okay, there is a no network tab over there. Yeah. So let me check in our database first. So as of now, previously it's one user, should be second user. Now see, new user also registered. So like this way also, see, the password also is storing as a secure hash password, so that nobody can see, and that is sufficient for that registered user, right? So once you registered, after that actually we can log in. So that also we can do in our upcoming session, but yeah, register perfectly fine. Again, if you, okay, one more thing actually, see this, if you register, right? So let me refresh that, the design issue, right? So let me fix that design issue quickly, because this is not a big task. So I can show you how can fix that issue. So what I need to do, go to that here, go to that cs, go to app.cs file, and in this app.cs file actually we can add few settings over there. What are the settings? They are, go down, because newly you have to create it. So after this code, what I need to do, I have some style over there to fix that style. So these are the style. So label, I have set some label input, and outer div, inner div, and all that. That is a simple design things. Okay, so let me save it. If we can control F5, now see, now it's perfectly looking great, right? So now let me add another user for the demonstration perspective, and let me add new, or demo user @gmail.com, and paste password and registered. So now see, once you register, you are getting that successfully registered, and click the login. As of now we don't have, but yeah, my next session will create that. And also we'll cover that authentication and authorization. See, as of now everybody can access this page and all, right? So once I create successfully, then definitely we have to assign some roles, and then we can we can implement, okay, which tabs or which page actually user can access or not, right? So that is in upcoming session we'll do. And let me see that new user also is logged in or not. Now see, the user also created, right? And one more thing actually we have to do, let me push this code so that you can just use this code in your practice, right? So what I need to do, let me stop that, so that okay, go to that, add here, let me make it private, public, and this is babation with bab API, right? So this is fine for this registration user, right? Upcoming session will do in our login, log out, everything. So let me create that, create and push. So you can check it my GitHub links, which I will share in my this session, and you can take it from there, right, in this name. So that's all for this session. Have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.